and welcome to That's What Speaks. Today is the last day of February. I'm Amy Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry and the Fat SQRRL on Instagram. Welcome back. Welcome anew. It's nice to see you. This is a podcast about wool stuff mostly, but also lots of other stuff. I would say the nexus is wool, but much like a multimedia exhibition, this podcast is. It's got all the things. This episode will contain administrative goodness, shop update. It will contain quilting, sewing, weaving-ish, spinning-ish, knitting. Good. It'll also contain a teenager coming down the stairs at 11 a.m., so I'll be right back. This life. Gosh, so I don't think we were actually talking about anything yet. So I hope you've got I hope you've got a cup of tea with an excessive number of tea bags in it because you're actually a coffee drinker and you don't know how to drink tea because you require far more stimulus than is reasonable for most human beings. Allow yourself, man. If you know you need the stimulus, you need the need was in that sentence. You don't want the stimulus. Your brain needs the stimulus. I don't know why, but mine does too. We're in it together. This is not a podcast about neurodivergence, but it kind of is. There's going to be, I said there's going to be administrative stuff. There's going to be, I'm supposed to draw prizes for patrons, but you know what? I did not make a list to do that. So I'm going to put the prize winners, I'm going to draw prizes and put the prize winners in the Patreon group. So you'll see it there. You'll probably see it there first anyway. I'm going to do that. So yeah. Shenanigans. I was like, I'm giving you an outline of this podcast. What is it? It's not even a podcast anymore. I'm giving you an outline of this Shenanigans show. I started to say something else. Keep it kid friendly in the background. I started to give you an outline and then just didn't finish that outline. But you know what this thing has in it? It has stuff. I talk about stuff. First, I'm going to talk about shenanigans though. And I start that by doing shenanigans. Oh my gosh, y'all. Okay, so it's the end of February. Last weekend, I went hiking with my high school bestie. Can we just discuss? I have a friend that I have known for 32 years. What is that? What is that? I am very lucky. That's banana pants. Last week I went to Versailles State Park here in Indiana. It was, you know what? It was a lovely amount of forest bathing. But the weekend before that, which is what I was really meaning to talk about, we met at the Cincinnati Nature Center. Okay, if you've been watching this podcast for a while, you will remember probably that, there's a 1% chance to remember that I am a crazy person about the Cincinnati Nature Center. It gives me all the happy nostalgia vibes. It's very good. I used to live in that area. We did not have a membership there very often, but occasionally we go and it was such a delight. And the gift shop was an extra big delight because they had a bunch of Charlie Harper stuff and a bunch of schwanky stuff. Okay, schwanky to me as a working class 10-year-old in 1980, 90, 88, whatever. So it just has lots of nostalgia. And we met there and took a hike and it was the loveliest. Now, my buddy broke her ankle in October, so we had to be a little bit easy. And also we just wanted to have a hike where we were able to talk to each other. I didn't want to be so, because that's not nearly as festive as I want it to be. But we had an absolutely delightful time. It was very fun. There was lots of like, I don't remember it being this way when I like walked this trail 20 something years ago. They've changed things. But it was so delightful. I mean, they've had lots of changes there. They have like this awesome playscape thing, which is like it's like an unstructured, natural materials based play area for kids. They have like all sorts of fun stuff. They were doing maple sugar stuff. So they were having like guided tours of their sugar bush, by the way. Best name for a thing, sugar bush. They were doing the guided tours, but it also meant like even if you can, and then you could do a self-guided tour. They had like that you could do a self-guided one. And it's just like, it was just fun to get to like go see the buckets and the lines, and it was just really charming and lovely. And of course, we've had this crazy weather in central Indiana. We usually have like a crazy weekend or two in February where it's extremely warm, but we've had like 2 weeks basically of it being in the 50s, which is, well, I don't know if that's technically true, but it feels like it's been in the 50s for 2 weeks. And of course that's in southwestern Ohio near Cincinnati. Hence Cincinnati Nature Center. Would be weird if it was in Portland, Oregon. But you know what I mean. But anyways, it was super lovely. There was all sorts of crazy dogs. The best. There were so many. I say crazy. There was just like a crazy number of dogs. I really like dogs. Like a lot. And so it was very fun to see all of the dogs. Oh, and then in the gift shop, I started talking about the gift shop. In the gift shop, because it's not just a gift shop. They have a gift shop, but then they also have like the library, which had a lot of books in it when I was a kid, but is now just not as many. But then they have like also like a big viewing area. They have a lot of feeders outside in that area. So they have like a big viewing area with like bird identification stuff up. And so that's really lovely. Excuse me. And some like amphibians and some turtles. Oh my gosh, they had turtles. And they live right next to each other. And one is named Bert and one is named Ernie. But I was very excited because in the Nature Center store, they were selling Wingspan, the game, and like all of the expansions. How cute is that? I almost bought, which one? I don't have the last two. I don't have Asia or the one with the peacock on it. Pacific, maybe. And I've not been playing my hard copy like at all, so I was like really like, oh, but it was so fun that the fact that I would be able to get it there was like somehow just like made me feel all cozy and good. But then I ended up buying a book about Charlie Harper's early art life. I should have bought the game, although it was really fun. I did not know anything about Charlie Harper's wife, and I don't know her name, and shame on me, but I also just don't know anybody's name. But so that was fun. I got to learn like so much more about her and her artwork, which I didn't even know. So that was exciting. Okay, just for the record, let's make sure we understand what her name is, because now I feel like a total jerk not remembering. But like if I ever forget your name, just remember, I can't remember the name of like a very famous artist who I like looked at a whole book about. I would not say I read, because I just read all of the captions of the artwork, which is what I like to do. Okay. Oh my gosh, that's so funny, because that is not the Charlie Harper I was looking for. Apparently that's one of those show people. Edie. I knew it was an E name, but I just can't remember. Edie McKee Harper. Oh my god, look at this cute picture of them. I'm gonna kick something. Oh. Shut up. So that was really fun. For one thing, just to see the difference in his art style as he progressed. And he was very much like an illustrator. Like he definitely, or like not even, I wouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. I don't know anything about anything. But it was fun to see his artwork, his art style was just like blammo. And a lot of it was because a lot of those works were like his student works and her student works. And again, they're very early works, but it was fun to see that they had such a broad techniques, mediums, all of that stuff, and then to see it sort of gel a little bit more. Again, this was just the early stuff, but it was still fun. It was exciting. But also maybe I should have bought that Wednesday game next time. Oh no, I have to go again. Thank you for being patient as my watch dings at me. What else? Oh. But then Gus is here. Gus is a little bit needy today, so he might be up here a little bit more than usual. I know, you just don't even want to look at him, right? He's the least charming person in this video. But cool things that they had that were different. They had different sort of like wire, like almost like a dog crate, but like more like barbed wire, like chicken wire. So I think they were like actual traps, kind of, that you would think about, like if you trap a possum or something. But they weren't traps. What they were observation, where they have found different deceased animals. That seemed weird. Different dead animals on the property, and then they put them in these crates in this like kind of open-ish area, so that people can see what they look like at different rates, like at different times in their decay cycle. How cool is that? There was a possum and the other thing, I can't remember what the other, and then there was a coyote, but I didn't look at the coyote because the coyote was too new and it was in a position where it looked like it was sleeping. I was afraid it would creep me out like really intensely. Not gonna lie, it was a little eerie, but that was really cool. And then the coolest thing, except hanging out with my best friend, okay, and also dogs. Well, no, this was actually cooler than dogs. We turned the corner. There is there's like several different little ponds. It's called the Row Woods because it was originally like a giant estate that then the people who owned the estate donated it to the community. So there's like different houses and stuff on the property. Not many, but there's a few. But we come around this corner and this is a lake, or a pond, excuse me. This is a pond that typically has bullfrogs in it, like turtles and bullfrogs. And in fact, my mother would love to tell you a story of when I was an actual teenager. So I was in high school, I think. Might have been in junior high, but I was not a little kid. And we turned the corner and I thought there were cows somewhere because I did not know what a bullfrog sounded like because I had never heard a bullfrog. I don't know that my kids ever heard a bullfrog. Actually, now that I say that, and we've done a lot of stuff outside. I could be wrong. But anyway, we turned the corner and it was so loud that I thought it was ducks. Okay, so I'm going to put the video in here.
They're bumping into each other. Pull it in there. I know. And it's funny that they're all like in the same position. Yeah. See, like they're all like with their little legs. Maybe that's how they float. I don't know, but
oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, their little heads up and their little legs out.
How exciting is that? How exciting was that? So you might have heard us like talking in the background. I didn't want to cut out the sound because hello, so important. But I think those are wood frogs, because it says specifically that they spawn in vernal ponds or puddles, or you know, like the waters that are not always water. The waters that are not always water. Do you know what I mean when I say that? The places that are typically like wet and watery lots of times in the spring, but then dry up later. I'm pretty sure that's what they were, though. Whatever they were hecka exciting. If you know specifically what they were, let me know. But I think they're wood frogs. I don't know. There were so many. It was so exciting. And it was very exciting too, because as we were standing there, because there's like a little wood, like a little walkway, like a little wooden boardwalky kind of thing, because it is a very muddy area. And so as we're sitting there, so many people stopped and were like really excited about the frogs. They did not stay as long as we did, but it was still very fun to hear the adults be like more excited than the children, right? It was so fun. It was exciting. That was a highlight of the day, was the, again, except for talking with my friend, was the awesome frogs. I was very excited about it. So what else? Oh, and then that same weekend, I took my family to GeoFest, which was at the Indiana State Museum. And it was just like a little rock show that was inside the State Museum. But the fun thing is, I'd never been to our State Museum. I don't know, it just didn't sound that exciting, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't realize there was like a natural history component. I thought it was just all about like the history of people, mostly white people in the state. And so I was just like, okay, white people in the state. And I was just like, I am not that interested in people. Gotta be honest. But there was this great little natural history section, which I thoroughly, and I say little, it was like 1/3 probably of the displays. Maybe even 1/2. It was highly enjoyable. So not only did we get to walk around and look at some fun rocks and like look at some cool fossils, that's the word. We got to see a bit of the museum, and it was very enjoyable. Okay, they had a fossil of shark vomit. Who even knew? That was exciting. They had lots of things. They had like Chuck Taylor's actual Converse, right? They had lots of cool stuff. But they also had this like display on a sinkhole that's been found in Indiana. What was it called? Oh, I didn't write down what the name of the sinkhole the sinkhole was. Like, you really care. But it's just northeast of Indianapolis, and it's this really cool fossil record that is the first or only one of two. Like, I read both things. It's either the first or only one of two records of this very specific time in history, in the like the history of the North America. Sorry, words. That's like between the dinosaurs and the rise, and like the full-on rise of the mammals. So it's like closer towards the mammal time than the dinosaur time. And so I was like, oh, that's so exciting. But also they had, my kid is a fan of the short-nosed bear. Always excited to see a short-nosed bear. They are cute. They're not my jam. They're kind of weird. Their proportions are kind of freaky to me. I'm not gonna lie. They are a little bit like, I don't know why. Look, Google it. You tell me what you think. Do you think their proportions are sort of unnerving? Like, that would definitely be good a horror movie for me. Except it wouldn't be, because I'm never watching a horror movie, especially not if it has a short-nosed bear. Things I never thought I would say. Yeah. But it also had a new to me creature, the short-legged rhinoceros. People, it's a corgi of the rhino world. I don't support Jurassic Park, but if there was a Kickstarter for the short-legged rhinos, I would be tempted, especially if I got to go touch one or just look at its butt. Oh, that's so cute. Oh, it's very enjoyable. And then we got to see like lots of, I learned some stuff too. Like I did not realize that they had this, just a temporary display because it's part of the GeoFest. Some gentlemen were out with different geological cores they had taken across Indiana, excuse me. And that was so interesting to see the different, because I've seen the map like of the geological time periods that are most evident, or, that are like at the top in Indiana. But to actually see the cores was like a totally like a much more experience than just seeing like colored areas on a map, and then we got to see, was it a mammoth or a mastodon? I think it was a mammoth. There's this whole thing about mammoths versus mastodons too, and now I can't remember which one it was. It just confused me. It was one or the other. This whole thing, it was like a mammoth found in a peat farm in Indiana. I didn't even know they were gathering peat in Indiana. By the way, that's a terrible thing. Try to avoid peat things. It's really horrible to take the peat. It takes a bagillion years to make, and we're just taking it all. It's like a big carbon. I mean, I know everything is a trash fire. I understand. I feel it too. Like it's a drop. People are flying in private jets across the world to get pizza. I don't even know what's going on. So like, just take it with a grain of salt. But oh my gosh. But there was a giant mastodon or mammoth. It was very exciting. There were dire wolves. That was exciting. Oh, and they even talked about, the teen and I took a driving geology tour in Monroe Lake State Park, which is like near Bloomington, Indiana. And at the very end, they talked about this shaft that they found while they were blasting for the road, because the tour was like road cuts, right? How fun is that? They just took you down to like random road cuts. And we're like, this is what's going on here. Also, they took us to a riverbed that had 8 gabillion geodes in it, which was like free to gather. But anyway, so they found this sinkhole that had all sorts of crazy stuff in there. It was very interesting, but they were building this highway, and so, or state road, whatever. They were building a road, and so even though they found it and there was like all this cool stuff, they had to like be on their schedule, and so they just didn't even fully excavate it. How disappointing! So I can't remember if that was the one that had the dire wolf in it or if it was another one, but whatever, it was very exciting. Lots of horse stuff, which I didn't, okay, I'm just gonna be honest. I didn't know there were horses in North America before the horses came back to North America. Well, until they came back to North America. Did you know that? I didn't know. Oh my gosh, I also didn't know that ringworm isn't a worm. Did you know that? I am 40, almost 5 years old. I totally thought ringworm was a worm. It's a fungal infection. What? Could we rebrand, please? It's not like Monsanto knows the name of it. We can change the name. That has nothing to do with anything, but just passing it along. Remain flexible in your thinking, folks. That's actually a deep comment, actually. I was being flip, but like, remain flexible in your thinking. I know you are, because we're here together and we're doing this silly thing. And like, you're learning new stuff, and like, your brain is always doing new cool stuff, and like, fist bump. Just keep an eye out for the other people though, and just like, just gently, just support them. Just support them in their flexible thinking. We all need more of it. Neuroplasticity feels like a good thing. Did I just finish reading a book about microdosing? Yes, I did. I'll have that in my reading wrap-up in another podcast, probably recorded tomorrow or the day after. Okay. So those are the Shenanigans, right? The Nature Center, the GeoFest, Okay, that was most stuff. Mastodons, mammoths, got it all. Man, good me. Okay, so what else? Okay, so I guess now we're talking about the actual stuff of this podcast. Administrative. There is a shop update. It will be March 1st. March 1st, 9 p.m. Eastern. So if you're watching this after March 1st, just check in. There's actually quite a few bags. And I have not advertised it very well, so they might very well still be there. And this is primarily my geometric update. I don't like to have themes. I don't know why. It just gives me joy. And also for somehow less stress. So the primary inspiration behind this update is this amazing fabric. Shazam, right? How enjoyable is this fabric? Can you see this yellow, like how that's great stitches on there? How great is that? So it's going to be available in large wedge, and you might have noticed, if you have a very keen eyeball, that this scale is the same as the scale is just slightly smaller on these smaller bags. So it's the same print, it's just in a different scale. So large wedge, great for 2-3 skein projects, right? Just gotta gusset. She stands up on her own. She's a robust gal. She's like the short legged rhino of the grouping. And then we have the sweater size, which is great for, I would say, up to 5 skein projects. Maybe even more. I don't know. You do you. I don't like to crowd things. I don't like to feel like I have to smash something to zip something. You know, I just like to throw it in there. But there's this one. And then I have Erin sweater size, also in the same scale as the sweater size. But then again, this is great for Afghans. It's great for multiple projects. It's great for sweaters, all that good stuff. Okay. So, and then I have other bags, but those are like the core of the collection. The geologic core, did you see how we did that? So then also I have in the large wedge size, I have this super fun print. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but this is like a hot orange, hot pink, sort of like screen print, like they, not marble, but like it's irregular color placement, I think. Well, maybe it's not actually. Maybe it is intentional. But anyway, it's fun, okay? And so it's this fun, like hot orange, hot pink on this sort of like almost shell pink. Well, I don't know which one's the background, which one's the foreground. You choose. It definitely does like a magic eye thing where you like look at it one way and you're like, which one is the foreground and which one is the background? And then you change, like you move your head and you're like, oh no, it's the other way. So that's fun. So I have those, and I have them both in an uninterfaced style, right? Where it's just, it's a decorator weight linen slub. So it's, normally I wouldn't interface it, but to be honest with you, I just thought it was thinner than it was, and I just, whatever, sometimes brains. But you can see it's definitely, like, it's soft. If it has yarn in it, it's gonna stand up, but like if I just hold it on my hand, it's not gonna stand up, right? So it's a bit softer, but like you put one skein of yarn in it, it stands up. But that means it's great. You can kind of like, if you're gonna smash it into something and you want it to be flexible, very flexible, and it's good for that. But I also have some that are interfaced, and again, they're still flexible. It's not, it's like the batting interfacing, so it's not like the real papery kind, but it does have a little bit more body. So it's your idea. You choose whatever works for you. Then I have so many bags. I I just have 2 of these because they were like a happy find when I was looking through something else. I found like just a few cuts of this fabric. So I have only 2 of these, but aren't they sweet? I think what it was is these are sideways, like I've done this fabric before, but the ovals were like vertical, and so these were just like kind of scraps, and so I thought I can just turn them. So there's those. And then I have Aran sweaters of these guys. So just a nice warm aqua peachy coral brown palette. Right. Again, that's my biggest bag. And then I saved my favoriteest. Well, this one and the next one are my favorites. So then I also have these guys. Look how fun this beach stuff is. So beachy. And so they are pieced. Some of them have just 2 pieces. Some of them will have 3 per side, but probably list them separately. I probably will list them separately, right? Like a style 1 and style 2. Yeah, that's what I'll do. But aren't they sweet? So this fabric is a cotton twill, and I really love it. It's been laundered, and that's what gives it that very soft palette, and it's like a nice, it's not a brushed surface, but it has a nice texture. Sort of like, you know, like an older pair of jeans or something. It has a nice texture. And so the stripe placement is totally varied. They're all over the place. Oh, I forgot to mention, these don't have handles, so they'll be discounted. But aren't those so cool? I was very pleased with how those turned out. And then also this fabric, oh my gosh! That's definitely gonna be the screenshot for YouTube. But oh my god, that fabric. Do I want, this is a quilter's cotton that has been interfaced. Everything else is decorator weight. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. But this is a quilter's cotton that's been interfaced, but oh my gosh, that color combination is, well, I mean, hi. I'm kind of a sucker for ochre. This is Brooklyn Tweed Shelter? Is the fingering one? It's the fingering weight one of Shelter or Loft. This is the Hayloft colorway. This yarn was given to me by friends. And I am not sure what pattern this is, but it actually is on my Ravelry page, I think. But it is a favorite. Anyway, so like, oh, do I need a dress out of this? Or at least a peplum top. I really do like this fabric. Those are the bags. Again, March 1st, 9 p.m. Eastern. That's squirrelfibers.com. A few of you asked if I was gonna make the Frog and Toad screen prints. I offered some for prizes for patrons. And I'm gonna try to run some of those on like pre-made tote bags. They're very nice tote bags. I'm very picky about tote bags. But I am gonna try to run those, but I don't have them yet. If I have them, they might be they'll probably be March 15th update if I can get some printed. If I'm successful in printing some. I just said those were words and stuff. Okay. So that's all the shop stuff. So in my library book of the week, unofficial segment. Like there would be, if you're new, there are no official segments. So this is Modern Quilting, a contemporary guide to quilting by hand by Julius Arthur, House of Quinn. And this was put out in 2021, and it is very attractive. I checked it out from my library. It's not a book that I am going to purchase, but it is quite nice to look at. The photography is quite lovely. It's lovely. I'm going to say quite about 75 times because that's not at all obnoxious. The photography is really lovely. The book itself is just it has a nice paper. It has a nice color. Like it's nice. Pleasant. I have like a minor quibble in that like the table of contents is weird. Like the table of contents, there are multiple levels of tables of contents. Like there's the contents at the front, but it mostly just gives you like the one, like the Roman numerals of the book. It doesn't give you the little numbers of the outline. Is that even still a thing? But like, are you old like me? Do they still do? I mean, outlines with like Roman numerals, little numbers, and then like the I's are. I don't know why I think that's like a thing that does not exist anymore. But I've not seen one in a million years. But that's probably because I'm not in an educational setting where one would make those. But also I just found out, like, 6 or 7 years ago that there's only one period after, or one space after the period. So I don't know. I'm behind the times, y'all. Oh, so the table of contents just has like the big Roman numerals. It doesn't have the little ones. And so, for example, it has, well, anyway, it's just kind of weird. But then when you go, for example, one of the big Roman numerals is workshops, but that's all it says. Well, there's 40 pages in the workshop section. But when you go to workshops, it does break down what's in there for you. So it's just unusual. It's not like bad. It's just unusual. But the workshops are essential stitches and techniques, where he talks about the actual quilting itself and different stitches you might use, like the quilting stitch and running stitch and all that stuff. There's a construction section which talks about like how to put together a quilt, how to put on binding. There's a patchwork section, and that talks about different kinds of patchwork, whether it's like traditional patchwork or applique or like curved. I think he does like a curved line. Yeah, a curved patchwork, strip patchwork, free form. And that's also where he talks about how to trim your quilt top to put it in the sandwich. It's interesting that that's not before. Also, that order is weird. It's like the reverse order. None of my business. Oh, actually, there's an extra section called applique. Sorry, applique is not a part of patchwork. It's its own thing. But anyway. Value. I mean, like, so if you don't know how to do anything with quilts, like, it does have instructional stuff. It's not just a pattern book. The other small quibble I have with this book is that, for me, especially, like because I am not experienced enough as a quilter to be able to easily visualize what a quilt is going to look like overall, like bird's eye view. There's not every quilt has very clear pictures of like the entire quilt. Like lots of times they're like this kind of picture, which are lovely, but I do think that the aesthetic sacrifices some bit of clarity. How's that? Okay. But also that's stinking very attractive, right? And so he's got several patterns, and there is, for example, this one does have like a schematic of what he's talking about. And it's not like these are super detailed, like pieced quilts where you really, so I mean, I understand like that there's not as much need for clarity, like in terms of, it's definitely like a more freewheeling. But also look at this one. This is the, what's it called? The Key Lines quilt. And man, oh man, I really do want to make this one. I have tried to do the big stitch quilting before, and I did not like it, but I think it's because I was doing it on small pieced patchwork. I think what I need to do is do some big pieces. And that way, like, A, it's has more visual impact, the big stitches, and B, it would be clearer for me how to do the stitching. And then C, actually there's less stitching. Like you can see there's actually quite a lot of space between these rows of the stitching. And when I say big stitch quilting, if you don't know what that is, it's just quilting except like way exaggerated. And usually use like pearl cotton or embroidery floss. You could use like just like a thicker thread so that it has more visual impact. And instead of doing those little teeny tiny like boop, 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 stitches, you're doing like bigger scoops, so longer stitches. And so just a different technique. So there's several different ones, but I wanted to show you that one. And then also this one is very attractive to me. Oof. Right? I like that quite a lot. And that is the Broken Ladder quilt. And it also has big stitching if you couldn't see from that picture. And so maybe I just exaggerated. Maybe there was just one quilt that did not have as much visual clarity as I wanted. What was that first one? Oh, you know what I mean. Just saying. Then this one is the Lower, L-O-E-R, wall hanging. And I'm also very enamored with this one. Right? Such a basic concept. But do it in solids. Add that big stitching. Limited color palette. I like that one a lot. Oh my gosh, I'm hungry. Do you have a snack? I don't have any snacks. If you're hungry, there's sumos on the counter because it's February. There's probably something else. Okay, that's maybe all there is. All there is. There are magical sunshine fruits on the counter. You're welcome. I know you weren't complaining. I was just chastising myself. And then the last one, which is one that I really want to see not only a clearer picture, but more pictures of, different examples, is the landscape quilt. And this is the one, again, this is very much like just an idea, basically. And but I want to see exactly what his, or not exactly, but I would love to see what his inspiration photo was. And I would love to see multiple examples of this. But that's me and my like very Virgo-y, linear kind of brain, right? Because really the instructions are like, there's a quilt plan. Referring to your chosen image for inspiration, sketch out a plan for your quilt design on paper. I mean, he talks about like how you need to really like super simplify your shapes and like leave out like lots of, you know, like you need to hone in. You need to curate. You need to, you know, limit the visual distractions. And like, so I mean, he does tell you, it doesn't just say, it's not like the Bake Off. It's not like make frangipan, but it's close. And I would really, so I just would love to see, like, this is the only other image of the quilt. I'm like, I want to see more. But anyway, so that is Modern Quilting, a Contemporary Guide to Quilting by Hand by Julius Arthur. Definitely recommend for just inspiration purposes. I think it's great, even if you're not a quilter, if you're interested in doing any sort of like punch needle rug hooking, you know, collage, like anyway, so like, you know, like definitely can experience, and I know you know this. Why am I telling you? Now I started it, so I'll finish it. But you know, definitely can find those inspirations in lots of different mediums. Because again, a lot of these would be amazing as punch needle or needle felting or, you know, lots of different beautiful things. Maybe tapestry weaving. Have I been bitten by the tapestry weaving bug? Perhaps. I had coffee at some point last week with the Midtown Knitter, who is another Indianapolis fiber person who has a podcast. Go check her out. And she talked about tapestry weaving. And I don't know, I've always been like, not that interested in tapestry weaving. Because I always think about like, oh, you can like do the over, under. Oh. And it's like over this like wide thing. And it just feels like, I don't know, that fiddly is the right word. Because it's not that I feel like it's fiddly. Oh, it just doesn't feel like, it just has never really appealed to me. she mentioned that she really has enjoyed tapestry weaving, which of course means then the universe brings me all of the information about the tapestry weaving. Thanks, phone who's listening to everything. I don't know. Like it used to be just that you would think that like, oh, you're just paying attention to those things more. Like, you know, like if I've never cared to talk about tapestry weaving before or learn about it, like whenever tapestry weaving come up, I would just like gloss over it without glomming onto it. But now there's like actual things that are showing me tapestry. Invisible little internet monsters who are like, meow, meow. But I've enjoyed those internet monsters. And so like I found out that like you can get tapestry looms that actually will make a shed. It's not like a rigid heddle or like, I guess it's not, and it's not even like a 2-shaft loom. It just does the over under. So it just pulls out, you know, it just gives you a shed like for your over under or your under over. But I didn't even know that existed. What? So now I'm like, segue. So this is not tapestry weaving, but I also, in this rabbit holiness of weavery, this weavery hole, this hole of weevils. Oh my gosh, there's so much fun stuff in the weaving, people. I've always been like, no, not the weaving. Everything else, but not the weaving. But like you can get like a little heddle to do like like to use it as like backstrap weaving, but you don't have to attach it. You're just doing a bracelet or something. You could just do it like here to there. But you can get like a little like a laser cut heddle and like a little shuttle so that you can raise your different warps. And like the Woolery has several kits that are actually your heddle is pre-strung even. I don't know if you call it stringing. Your heddle is pre-warped. Also, like, I think also part of the reason weaving is definitely a different language, right? Like, I feel like if you knit, you could start to crochet and be like, okay, like there's new terms, but like, I don't feel like somebody who is talking about crochet is speaking to me in Greek, right? Like it's still like, I can understand 95% of what they're saying. Same thing with like needle felting or what are the other things I do? I don't know, man. I don't know, friend. But like when people start to talk about weaving, I'm like, what are you saying even? Like, I feel like I have just now been like, okay, that is definitely what a heddle is. That is definitely what they mean by shaft. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm still like, but I'm also very intrigued. It makes sense. Like, I am very mathematically inclined and I do love some symmetry and some like line design. So it makes sense that I can't get another craft. I've got to refinish my basement. It's not a reason to okay, the reason to refinish my basement is so that like I can move move my basement there. So I can move my business there. But I'm just saying there might also be room for a loom if I refinish my basement. Just saying. Anyway. Oh, so this is a fun little thing that happens. And you can even get them with like 2 heddles. Also, I just figured out like why a rigid heddle is called a rigid heddle versus like a shaft loom. And I don't even know for sure. But I'm just saying like it feels like it's a different language. I need the primer course. I need the Rosetta Stone. But anyway, super fun. Then that got me, actually what happened is I saw a really cool bracelet that I was like, I want to weave that bracelet. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I totally want to weave a bracelet with a little shuttle thing, a shed, or see see, the word's already gone. You know what I mean. So I started to try to weave I could not weave the bracelet with the doohickey. But it was unnecessary. And also like I wanted a very narrow bracelet, and so the heddle like spreads the warp apart too much, and like then it was like a heddle and you had to beat, and it was like too much. And I was literally wanting to do like 5 warp threads. And so it was actually much more efficient just to use a needle and a comb. So I set up myself this little doodad. So this is an embroidery, what are these called? Snap frames. So you could use them for embroidery, you can use them for quilting. You can use them to make a tiny loom for your tiny bracelet that you're using, that you don't know how to do, but you're just having a silly fun time of it. Oh, sorry, my camera's confused about things. Here we go. See, I'm just using fingering weight yarn. This is just some like hemp yarn because you need it to be not stretchy. Well, whatever, it's a bracelet. But, and also like the yarn, this is hidden by the weft, so it doesn't matter what it looks like. And I kind of like the idea of that as the ties because I like the texture of the hempy stuff. Anyway, so just a silly thing, 5 little warp threads, using a comb as my beater. I have an inch done. Will I ever finish the rest? Who knows? But it would be a fun way to play with color and to to use up some yarn scraps. So I don't know. I think it'll be fun. We'll just play. We'll see what happens. Playing is great, except that this is kind of giant in the way. But you can use like a shoebox. You can use whatever. You get it. You're smart. Use whatever. But anyway, so yeah. So that's a silly fun thing. I tried to do it the other way, and then that's like the other way with the heddle is, so that's like warp facing, right? So your warp threads show up more, and it just did not, well, again, like I said, it was just like logistically more than what I needed. But it also just wasn't giving me the look that I wanted. I wanted just this like very plain weave look. But in the future, just saying. But yeah, this was like the inkle looms, stuff like that is not as appealing to me, but like weaving a tiny bracelet's fun, right? There's the tablet weaving. I haven't gotten interested in that so much. It looks fast. I mean, especially something about those cards, something about the tablet weaving. You've seen those, right? It's like the little square cards that have 4 holes in them, and then you rotate them to change your warp, what warp is lifted and what isn't. Those are very cool. Like those look super witchy and cool. But that has not really appealed to me, but I don't know. The tapestry. I don't know, man. I don't know, friends. I don't know, friends. But so that's what's been going on, silliness in my brain. And then I've also picked up I've started a punch needle project. So if you've not seen punch needle before, there's like rug, I think even, okay, so I think you do call it punch needle even when it's fabric strips, right? I think you still do. But it's a needle that looks like this. This is the most common one. This is the Oxford punch needle, but there's tons of different ones. There's like plastic ones, there's different brands. This is just kind of, this is the one I have. So an Oxford punch needle, this one is number 13, I want to say. There's a number on it. Where can I see? Yes, this is number 13. So there are different lengths of needles, and there's different like gauge of needle. So there's like a thinner one and a fatter one. And then, because rug yarn is actually quite fat. It's like bulky. So this is the not fattest one. And then there's the different lengths of yarn, which will give you different pile of your rug. You can do it with like strips of wool, or you can do it with yarn, or like, I don't know, plastic, but newspaper, maybe not newspapers, that'd probably be too hard, but like whatever materials. This is a great book. This is Punch Needle. This is the author's name. There we go. And it is gorgeous. I mean, it is just stinking gorgeous. I think this, what is her, now I'm doubting myself. Her name is Book How, right? On Instagram? Am I making that up? Now I'm doubting myself. Whatever. This is a great book. It's got great inspirational images with the templates for that specific design. She's got information about how to, like the actual logistics of the rug hooking. I think she has a section about the different punch needles. And I will say rug hooking. I know, I apologize. I think she has a section about the different punch needle sizes. Like, for example, here's a picture of like examples of different depths and textures. She shows you, like, there's a picture of different materials where it has the strips of wool and the regular wools. She tells you how to do the finishing in terms of like if you're going to put it on a frame. Actually, that's how she, you can do them. So you can use like an embroidery hoop for this, but you do need to have the fabric under tension. So if you're doing a piece that's very big, the embroidery hook can start to get, or hoop, excuse me, can get a little challenging, especially since, as you can, well, here, I'll show you what I'm working on. It gets very chunky. And so like, I don't know how you would put that. Like, for example, if I did this and then I moved down here, I don't know how I would put this in the embroidery hoop and not like have it get real angry. But I do know that people do it. So it's just me not understanding. But you'd want to have your materials. So this is Hesse, like this is just burlap, but you can also use monk's cloth, which is like that white or off-white cloth that's kind of like gritty almost. A grid, like grid, G-R-I-D, not gritty. This is gritty. And I don't know like why you would use one or the other. This is what I had because actually this was given to me by a lovely person. So thank you, lovely person. What was I starting to say? Oh, so that thing where she's stapling it onto stretcher bars. So you can also buy stretcher bars like for artist canvas, and they're pretty affordable. You can buy stretcher bars and then use it either as like your working stretcher, or you can use it like as the finished, like as a framing option, right? Like once you're done, or again, just only work within that and just like hang it up when you're done. And stretcher bars are not terrible. They're not astronomically expensive. I have this because I don't know how to do anything not over the top. And this is a stretcher frame. It has these like little, like basically like for a drum carder, it's got like these little bent metal wires. And so it's real, I will be honest with you, it's really nice. You can just, like, it's almost like you can almost lay the fabric on top of it and it'll stick. But I was afraid that these things would like poke out, and they really don't. I mean, every once in a while, I'll kind of catch this very last edge and I'll feel a little bit of the prickliness, but not really. Some people will put like a little fabric, elasticated fabric kind of casing around the edge just to kind of help with that. It probably also helps it from getting dirty. I'm not worried about either of those things. So this is definitely something you could make. This is just, again, this is the same kind of material that is used on drum carders, and you can buy this cloth. It's called cloth, but you know, it's like rubbery. And it's just like stapled on a frame. This one is quite nice because it has this like bowl thing down here, so you can adjust the you can move it quite well. And it's got this little bit so you can actually put it on your, like, I enjoy putting it on my lap. And then I really just kind of use it against the table. So that way I don't have to lock in the support systems as much. So it's a little bit more flexible if I need to like kind of rotate something or move something around. And I will do my best to put the link. I bought this on Etsy. It's not marked with the maker, but I will try to. No, I won't actually. You will totally find it if you're looking. It was on Etsy. Just look for punch needle frame, and you'll probably find it. But it is nice, and I have enjoyed. Also, does it tell you that that's like curved like that, so you can just sit it against your little tum tum? Gotta be careful because this sweater does want to get impaled on these little hooky dudes. But I mean, yeah, get your tetanus shot. Always a good idea from a fiber artist. But so this is what I'm working on, and this is the side you see as you're working. So it looks like this. And sometimes you use that side as your right side or your side that you're going to utilize as the front. But I am going to use this as a rug. So I have like this like little weird space between the edge of my big rug in my room. Did I tell you that we like pulled up our carpet so now we just have subfloor in our upstairs? It's plank subfloor, or not plank, but well, yeah, plank. That makes it sound like it's like the big, wide, beautiful, like New England plank floors. No, it's like softwood pine floor, but it's not like, for example, it's not like plywood. That's what I was trying to say. So I want to paint that floor because I do love the look of a painted floor. And again, it is a softwood. It's not like it's a beautiful hardwood that I'm gunking up. Not that it's any of your business. Also, and when I say that, I mean it's none of my business if you decide to paint your hardwood. That's what I was really trying to say. But, so I have a big rug in that room, a big wool rug, but there's like this weird space where it's like, and there's like a heat register, which I can't cover, and then like, so like there's a weird space, I'm like, oh, it's a perfect excuse to make myself a rug. And so I'm doing that. And I'm pretty excited about it. I forever would not start this because I couldn't decide on like a pattern. Essentially, I couldn't decide what to do with it. Finally, I was just like, whatever. I love half square triangles and quilting so much. Like, let's just start with half square triangles, and then I'll do those for a while. And then if I decide that I want to have like a picture-y kind of thing, I can do that over here. And because it's only like 18 inches by 3 feet, so I've got room to play with it. But also, I can just keep with these half square triangles if I want to. And the yarn I am using is DK weight mostly. The sort of like goblin-y blue, the off-white, and the brown are all Hill and Hollow Farm, certified organic since 1998. They're in Kentucky, right? Or is it the other people who are in Kentucky? Yes, Metcalfe County, Kentucky. She had yarn a little while ago because I had to buy another skein. And this is dyed with black hollyhocks. Isn't that a great color? I really like that color. So yes, so that is all Hill and Hollow. And so my yellow and pink yarns are Peace Fleece worsted weight, and it's actually, I think, rather listed as an Aran weight. It's a much more robust. But you can easily switch weights of yarn in this kind of project. You can do multiple strands of fingering. You can do whatever, as long as they'll fit, you know, through the eye of your punch needle, and you can just make them a little bit. You can make fewer loops, like per square inch. So it's fairly easy to change, especially like, you know, that close, if it's a few bumps from one another. Oh, so this is Peace Fleece. This is Chicky Masala, I think. And this is the Palomino, which was a color that I never liked, and now I am very intrigued by. And of course, now Peace Fleece is not Peace Lilies is a little bit up in the air. But it's this really cool, sort of like peachy-ish, peachy shell, but very warm. I don't know, I'm very intrigued by it. It's like almost just a camel color, but it's a little peachier. So that's happening. It's just nice to kind of change it up. I will be honest with you, I've had a little bit of like stagnation in my knitting life lately. I mean, I really enjoy what I'm knitting. I just don't have the like compulsion lately. And I'm not sure why. It's not like I'm, like, you know, it just happens, right? Waxes and wanes. I've done this podcast for 12 years now. Things go on. But also, here are the two colors. Like, I think, and a post-it note for extras. Aren't those lovely? I'm usually not a person who's drawn to like more, what I would consider these are more pastel colors overall. But I don't know, just that this was the color inspiration. I really love this bluey color. And so just anything else that kind of felt like it jived with it was what I wanted. And those were just like, and these were all things I had in stash. So that's also part of it. Okay. I kind of skipped quilting. You know what? We'll talk about that later. I talked about enough stuff. I just started a small patchworky thing. Spinning. I have been spinning a tiny bit more than normal. I finished something that's been on the wheel since July. Actually, I didn't even finish it. It needs to be plied still. I finished the singles for something that's been on the wheel since July. I wanted to offer fist bump support to all my folks who are still working on their Christmas countdown calendars. I'm on my last little bump of Knit Spin Farms countdown calendar, which was Ice Castle inspired. I have a few more to ply. I'm just waiting until I get this little guy spun. But when I get done, I will have spun all of it on a spindle, which is so good for me. Usually I just like to collect the spindles, but I've actually used them a little bit. And I have really enjoyed the spindle spinning. The only thing I have not enjoyed is I'm not as flexible with spindle spinning. I really do need to stand up when I'm doing it. And so that's great. It's lovely. But it does kind of like, whatever. It's a little bit more limiting, but I can only spin on my wheel when I'm sitting. I can't spin on my mini spinner standing, which I do enjoy quite a bit. It's really great for like, if you just need, again, to like get up and move a little bit, to do your mini, I can do the mini spinner and just do like pretend it's a great wheel. So I enjoy that too. But anyway, so I'm on my last little bump, which is very exciting. Oh my gosh, Mars, did you see Mars? Hey Brownberry, who has a podcast and is also just an all-around lovely human being. I just saw a picture that she posted where she took like a mason jar and filled it with dried beans, and she just put her spindle in there and used that as her lazy Kate. I haven't tried it yet, but sounds brilliant. I'm excited to try it out. I don't have a regular lazy Kate for my spindles. I just use like a swivel lobster clasp, the same kind I use for my bags. And then I just hook it like between the layers of like my IKEA cart and just pull it. It works really well. It's fine. But I'm excited about the bean jar thing. I think that's gonna be fun. Although I'm gonna put mine on the ground. Although I don't know, that will mess. I'll put it on my IKEA cart. That's what I'll do. That way it will be less likely to tip over too, because it's got like that, like, it's like a bucket essentially. But you know what I mean? Got sides. Because I just imagine myself like pulling. I'm a beast. I imagine myself pulling too hard, and then there's like beans flying everywhere. So maybe, but if I put it in a cart that has like this ledge around it, that might work for my beastie self a bit better. Ooh, I gotta try that out now. So then it's Marceline Smith. She does classes. She's a weightlifter. She does all of the fiber stuff, and she has a pineapple plant in her backyard. Just saying. Okay. Knitting. So the yarns I am using for my rug, I am also using for a knitting project. I am knitting, I'm test knitting the, dang it, the Split Decision. I said, man, I know it. I'm test knitting the Split Decision mitts. I made the Split Decision hat. They're both designs by Shayna Lines. It's like Shanat Tova, but whatever. She's lovely and amazing and wonderful and just terribly all around charming and creative and interesting. And she makes great faces in all of her photos. But I'm making the Split Decision mitts, and I have finished one, and isn't it super cute? These are like a kind of like a mix and matchy pattern, much like the Split Decision hat. So you can do like your own striping sequence. You don't have to stripe it. You can make them all one color, but they're garter stitch, which I love a garter stitch mitt because it just has a little bit of extra insulation, more so than like, you know, because like if you knit it in stockinette, you have to knit it so firmly that it's not fun to knit anymore. So, right? I'm very excited about them. I think I'm going to do the other one with the bluey green as the main part, and then just a stripe of brown and white, but the same stripe sequence on the side. That's my plan. So those have been very enjoyable. She'll have the pattern out, I'm sure, lickety split, because she's wicked clever like that. So yeah. She's also the one with the recalibrate top. She's done a million fun designs. Speaking of people who are fun designers, I am still working on my Stephen West Aurora Cabin, and I am still in the middle of a row. It's a different row, but I'm in the middle of one. So here's mine so far. So yeah, I guess I am really liking that kind of clay-y color lately. It's in here too. This yarn is Madeline Tosh, Dr. Zhivago Sky. I think that one's called Baked Clay. I feel like one of them was called Paper or something. There's another Crafty Girl in here, which is the darker blue. Yeah, there's single plies, there's 2 plies, there's superwash. There's non-superwash because there's also this rusty fox color is Quince & Company Finch. So yeah, it's really, it's very enjoyable. The rows are very long. I think we're like in the 700 stitch neighborhood now. I am on my, I've just started my last little chunk of this last 5 color section. And then the pattern is written with a chevron-y kind of border. I am not sure that I'm going to do the chevron border. At first I thought I just did not have enough yarn. I had that thing where I have enough of, for sure, of the clay-y kind of color. But I had that thing happen where your ball of yarn gets really flaccid and like it just pukes out the little other ball that's inside of it. And so I thought that the ball that had puked out was all that I had left. So in my head, I was like, oh, I only have this much yarn left. I still have like another 4 rows of the pattern to knit with this. Actually, that's not true. I'm done with knitting this in the pattern, right? In the 5 color pattern, whatever. I'm like, I don't have enough of this to knit the chevrons. But then I found that I had actually had this much. But then I kind of had it in my head that I wasn't going to knit them, and I might actually like the look of it in my brain. I might like the look of it ending on that solid band. I can't decide. I think maybe I like the look of it ending on a solid band. So again, this is the Aurora Cabin shawl. I did not finish for my patrons of the group. Oh, I forgot to talk about that. Oh my gosh, there's just too much to talk about. Patrons of the group, we're doing like a January, February knit along. I didn't finish. Whatever, it's fine. It's I've enjoyed it quite a lot. It's been fun. It's been a different color sequence or different color combination than I usually use, but I've enjoyed it. Yeah, even the draggy rows are still fine because they're still like it's only ever 4 rows of something. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not like you're like, oh, now I gotta do this for 75 rows. You know what I mean? You're like, I just gotta do this for 4 rows and then I can do something else for 2 rows or whatever. So yeah, I've found it to be very enjoyable. So my dark blue and my white, I only have like this much left of, and that's gonna be perfect to finish this last kind of chunk of the 5-color stripe. I have plenty to do well, plenty. Maybe not. I have plenty to do the I-cord bind off if I do it now. Maybe not if I do the chevrons. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I definitely like the look of the chevrons too, but I think maybe I just have it in my head that this one is going to end on the solid band, and it has like, I think, an I-cord edge, which I think visually would just look nice and maybe would feel completed. I don't know. What do you think? Okay, so there's that. Okay, is that all? Is that all? That's all. Okay, except I've got to circle back to the thing I was supposed to talk about in administration. So if you're part of the Patreon group, if you'd like to, you can find out more information on patreon.com. There's a drop down of this YouTube video that has my links in it. It says scroll support or something like that. We're going to do a book club, right? I've never done one before. I've never been in a book club before. But this book has come out this year. It's called Reclaiming Body Trust. I believe it came out this year. A Path to Healing and Liberation. It's by Hilary Kennevy and Dana Sturtevant. And I started to read it and then I was just like, you know what? This might be a fun thing to talk about. Well, fun. Might be a good thing to talk about in a group. So we're definitely doing it. There's plenty of people who are interested. We're going to talk about this. We're going to read it. I think we're definitely going to do the 6-week plan. We're going to have like a tap in the middle. We're going to do some Zoom. I'll schedule several different times because there's actually quite a few of us, and I don't want to have too many people in each grouping because I want people to feel like their voices can be heard. So yeah. Fun. So we'll do that, and we'll do them like we'll do like a mid-book group or mid-read group conversation, and then do a conversation when we all finish. It's pretty easy to do that in this kind of book because again, there's no spoilers, so that'll be fun, I think. Yeah, and this is available widely at your library. My library has the physical copy, the ebook copy, and the audiobook. And then, of course, available at bookstores. It is only in hardback at this point. The USA suggested retail price is $28. The Canadian is $37. And this is just a holistic and powerful framework for liberating our bodies and ourselves and reclaiming body trust. Licensed therapists, blah, 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 and founders of the Center for Body Trust invite you to break free from the status quo and reject a culture that has profited from trauma, stigma, disembodiment to fully reclaim and embrace your body. So I don't know how it's going to go. I didn't read ahead. I know that's a bit risky, rolling these dice, but we're in it together. We're exploring together. So if you'd like to do that with us, we're going to do that over on Patreon. And I don't know, maybe we'll do that. Like maybe we'll just like have a whole body book club. That'd be kind of fun. We'll do a body book club. Well, we'll see how this goes. We're testing the waters. But it'd be fun if we did a body book club, right? So yeah, there's that. Okay, now I think we're done. You're like, I was done 45 minutes ago. That's okay. You're not here anymore, so that's fine. You, however, are here. And thank you for hanging around for a ridiculously long amount of time with me. So it's March tomorrow. Take pleasure in turning your calendar page. Did you already peek ahead? I did. Peeked ahead at my calendar page. I couldn't help it. I have Phoebe Wall calendars. I have Phoebe Wall calendars. W-A-H-L. So I have both the gnome one and the like regular one. Next, spoiler, next month's image is like folks sitting on like a hillside and having their snack after they've hiked, and it's so charming. This month's was people playing board games in a snuggly house. And the gnome one this month was this little man gnome in his pink coat, and he's feeding chickadees or something. Little chickadee shaped birds. So charming. Are you seed cataloging? Are you starting to plant your inside seeds? I don't know yet. I actually might soon. It's so warm. It's gotta get really cold again though. Am I being tricked? Perhaps. I think this year I'm definitely doing the dahlias again, man. The dahlias were such a delight last year. Doing dahlias again. Gotta find a place for some zinnias because it's really nice to have the cut flowers in the house. So stinking nice. But I also want to do, I need some cucumbers because my pickles are done. I've like gotten my pickles to last like 2.5 years, but after that it's like, okay, that's too much. I won't give you the 2-year-old pickle. I will tell you that they're 2-year-old pickles if you come to my house. I will warn you. They're safe. They're fine. But I will just warn you. Fairsies, right? But I need new pickles. I need some tomatoes, even though we have kind of fallen into a bit of a canned sauce layback. But that's been kind of nice. But I definitely need new beans. I need to can some more beans. Last year I didn't grow any vegetables, right? But this year definitely need to get back with it. But I also need about 75 times more space than I have. I don't need it. I want 75 times more space than I have. Oh! And places for yurts for you to come visit. Like apparently now we can weave in the yurt. Oh my gosh, weaving in a yurt. Oh gosh. Why am I not independently wealthy, people? Come on. We could weave in a yurt. We could have body book club in the yurt. I'm just saying. I've been doing my buddy lives in Kentucky. So she's like 3.5 hours away from me. And we've been friends forever. And we go on these wax and wane periods of where life gets busy and we don't see each other forever. But she's always the person that I can just pick back up with. The first time I visited at Legacy Fiber Arts pop-up at Maryland Sheep, at the weekend of Maryland Sheep Mall. I called her. We had not seen each other in the flesh probably in a year. And I was like, hey, do you want to go to Maryland with me? She was like, okay. And it was lovely. It was festive and fun. But anyway, so we're currently on this warehouse is so expensive. Why do we not live next to each other? Why do we not have tiny yurt houses next to each other? I'm telling you, people. Just saying. Anyway, sorry, rambling. No, not sorry. Thanks for hanging out with me while I ramble. If you want to be on the yurts, just let me know. There'll be a Kickstarter coming. Maybe there will, I don't know. Why am I limiting myself? But I hope you're getting some sunshine. I hope you're getting to feel some, if you're in our hemisphere, I hope you're getting to feel a little bit of vitamin D recharge, but wear your sunblock. I hope you're having gardening fantasies or cut flower fantasies or farmer's market fantasies or just all of the fantasies. They're all enjoyable because in fact, they are fantasies. I'll stop talking. Have a week and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.